got 25 minutes. We got to go.
Hey, Say That Nation. Happy Wednesday.
Hump day. What's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday.
We're going to call that the Wednesday dance. Some kid on TikTok is going to see me doing this one day and call it Do the Wednesday. Do the Wednesday.
Yo, I don't know if you guys been picking up on a lot of the manifestations or we've been affirming on here. We had Beyonce last time?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
No,
right?
Gabrielle Union.
Gabrielle Union. Excuse me. Gabrielle Union. Now I got Beyonce. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But no, guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome into another episode of Say That. Hope you guys are doing well.
And if this is your first time with us, we just want to say welcome. We're so excited to have you. We are the place to go when you're an entrepreneur or small business owner and you're like, I see all these other people having massive success who started from nothing, but what happens in the middle? What happens during the ugly come up? And that's what we are unapologetic about talking about, especially on our live Wednesday shows. And we, this season, have been doing a new format where we have been taking different information from different thought leaders out there, different entrepreneurs themselves, and basically sharing them with you live. And then we're able to discuss the content and the information that they've shared with us to be able to use it in our own businesses. So we're really excited that you're with us today. Please don't forget to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, all those things, because we don't want you to miss another episode that comes next.
Absolutely. And so today, guys, we're going to dive into another question, another topic that could be helping you advance in your business, or maybe you're stuck in a way. And the question that we have for today can maybe help move you forward in that area. So let's jump into today's question, guys. The question for today is:
should we borrow from our 401k to grow or start our businesses?
I have to, before Janelle, I'm going to let you go. I have to say, as someone who's never had a 401k, this to me is a very interesting topic. I have thoughts on it, but I know, Janelle, you have one, so I'd let you speak.
So I'll be honest. I actually am one of those people who borrowed from my 401k. Well, I was advised to do it because the thought was my goal within my network marketing company was that I would make back that money, and that residual income that I was creating from the network marketing company would eventually outpace my 401k anyway. So it made sense to go ahead and borrow from it at this moment. But to be sure that you will be taxed on it later because you're taking it out before the age requirement. And so just keep that in mind. Keep a certain amount in the bank so that way you can pay for it when that is the time. I will also be honest and tell you, I did not keep all of it in the bank. I still owed, I think I ended up owing like $2,500 or something like that, which was not the total. Like I did have some saved, but I didn't have all saved. And so when it was time, when taxmen, they come.
Oh, okay. That's what you're referring to when you said you owed. You're saying in taxes.
I owed. So the interesting thing is I still had the 9-to-5, so I still get a W-2. So the W-2 return did help with some of that, but it was the first time I myself had ever experienced where I actually owed the government money. And I had to come up with a way. Yeah, I've always been a W-2 worker, so I've never experienced the opposite where all you have is W-9 money.
I'm about to say, welcome to my world.
Oh, sorry, not to W-9, 1099 money.
1099 money, yeah.
So that was my experience. Now, would I recommend you do it? Would I recommend somebody else do it in the future? I would say it really does depend on you. And I would just be more like, I would say, take that money aside. Because I had it set aside, but then stuff happens, life happens. And then next thing you know, you're digging into that money. So maybe what I would suggest is put aside that money in something you cannot touch. Like you can't have access to it, nothing. So that way, when the taxes do come around or IRS does come around, you have it without having to bear that burden of like, where am I going to find all of a sudden thousands of dollars
to put towards this thing?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not against it, but I do think that like it should be done with certain things put in mind, a certain mindset. It's not like, oh, this is free money. This is definitely money that you're taking a loan out on, essentially.
Yeah,
but there we go. It was helpful. Like, I'm not going to lie. It helped me do a lot of things, specifically attend a lot of the events for my personal development. It allowed me to continue to partake in the products or the service at the time that we were offering.
Oh, so this was doing WV? Okay. Oh, I have so many questions.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it's not that it didn't help. I'm grateful that I had it. Yeah. But there was also a consequence. And so if I had to do it over, I probably just would have. I'm not a novice to struggle. I've been in places where I'm like, where am I going to find the money? And thank you, God, because somehow God always provides, and I figure it out. And I kind of just, because I knew the money was there, I was like, well, I'll just take from this. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then next thing you know, I was like, oh, dang, I took it. So that would be my recommendation. Just put aside that money in a place that you cannot access, and I think it'll be okay.
Okay. All right. So I have a couple questions, and I didn't look this up beforehand because I actually really wanted to kind of come at this as somebody learn about this. All right. To the question. All right. So is your 401k essentially set up in mind to be what you live off of once you leave the workforce?
That is correct.
Is that what you're okay? All right. So essentially, whatever you put into this, it's matched, correct?
Not always.
Okay, all right. But again, the overall idea of this money is supposed to be a nest egg to live off of. Does it continue earning interest once you leave the workforce?
It can, yeah. If you just leave it and it's not mandatory to take money from it once you turn 65.
So but then how would you live on it otherwise? You can't, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, right. You can't live on it and it continue to earn you money, correct?
That is no, it can. So it continues to grow interest, but usually you're taking out so much money in order to live off.
The penalties are
not the penalties. It's just that like it's not like the interest, it like replenishes itself. It's literally depleting over time. It's still like, you know, there's a rate in which it increases depending on what stocks you have in your portfolio and blah, blah, blah. But again, you're taking out such a huge chunk to now live off of that it can't, no matter the growth. I mean, there would have to be like a 20%.
Like a growth in the value of what which you would not have had throughout, right? And just to comment, I see Jeannie put up, my job doesn't match. Sorry to hear that. She said she learned that today. Damn. Wow. Well, at least she's laughing about it. So cool.
I've been in both, Jeannie. I've been in jobs that match and I've been in jobs that don't. So I've been both places.
And it does travel with you, correct?
It depends.
Damn. All right.
So I had TIA Craft. TIA Craft is an institution.
Oh, my mom worked there. Okay.
Oh, okay. So it's a 401k for those who work in education. I worked in the science.
Yes, she managed
Yeah. So if you're in research, science, academia, you're 401k. So I had one when I worked at Rockefeller, and then when I went to Mount Sinai, I think it changed to something else. But then when I went back to I shouldn't say back, but when I moved to Sarah Lawrence, it was TIA Cref again. And so they were like, oh, well, what did you have when you were at Rockefeller? All right, well, we'll just put it there. So it did carry over. And then the one that I had was Sinai. This is how I like needs to get a financial planner, because what I'm about to say is going to sound like really like, Janelle, you don't know your stuff. I don't. So what I had at Mount Sinai is not TIA Cref. And I know I still have access to it because it is mine. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you how much is there. I couldn't tell you where I've allocated money.
So there's money that's yours that you don't even know about, really.
Yeah. I mean, I can dig around and find the sources to
No, but I get it. But it's still
yeah. I mean,
but there are probably other people where that's their situation as well, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So to guys, to the question, I'm in favor of borrowing from any entity once you're informed about how to borrow from that entity, if it's for building your business. All right. So to the question, I don't, and that's what I said, in terms of the 401k, I'm not, I definitely don't know. I'm not an expert in any way. Never had one. But I think the thing that's significant, and Janelle touched on it earlier, is the fact that it's a loan. And I don't think many people understand that. That is just a loan. It's like borrowing for any other type of loan have different structures. So I know there are different stipulations. And you mentioned penalties when you withdraw early. You know, I have a life insurance policy. I have a life insurance policy that earns. I borrowed against that. Same as you, Janelle. Thankfully, my mom's the one that put that together for me. So I was told by that person, hey, if you're borrowing this money, understand come tax time, this is going to be penalized. So I took a portion of the money I borrowed to set aside to cover that. Again, now, if I hadn't known that, I would have probably been in the same boat like you. I would have thought, oh, this is all mine now, and I can use it because it's a portion of money that I thought I had earned in the money that was accruing from my life insurance policy. You know what I mean? But thankfully, I think information is what makes a big difference. So I definitely think you should borrow if you're using it for your business.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point, a financial planner, or maybe even if you are borrowing money for your business, I would probably speak to somebody who is, again, a financial planner, or if we're talking about network marketing, speak to somebody in your upline who can really talk to you about what constitute as money that you should be putting toward the business and what maybe you spend frivolously. Because I know one of the things that you did, Janelle, was even with the hotels, you were still splitting hotels, you know what I mean, during that time. It wasn't like, oh, I got some extra money now, let me blow it and get a hotel room by myself, like I forgot
Oh,
the
no,
struggle. You know what I mean? So I think there's things to understand even about having that extra money. Yeah, I'm gonna make it to the event now because I couldn't without the loan, but let me still be low budget, like if I like I didn't have this money. If I really want to stretch this out, because I would say what you should do with the loan, and this is what's important, is give yourself a timeline to build the business. Like, I'm really borrowing this money, I'm gonna owe it, I'm gonna really run with this thing. And I think that's where maybe having a conversation with somebody beforehand would help you with that, as opposed to just kind of borrowing money for sake of having the money. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how do I turn this, to your point, how do I make this? You made a great point. My residual income is gonna outpace the money I'm earning here, so this is a smart investment. I'm sure that was something you had a conversation with somebody about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the one thing I would say. But let's dive into today's video and hear what I know it's EYL, but I know it's somebody else from EYL that's
yes, EYL University, but it's somebody else who's doing it. It is, shout out to Brandon Guidry. He's the one who's going to be providing us with the information. And I just want to, I see Brittany's question in the chat. If I rolled it over, that is the term. Thank you, Brittany. And I rolled it over from one TIA craft to the other. And that's probably what you can do when it's the other company and not TIA craft, but I did not do that. So I have two things going on out there. Like I said, I need some help. I'm not afraid to say that I need assistance. This is not my...
And that's why we need to have these conversations, people.
Yeah.
That right there is why we need to have these conversations. All right, let's jump into it.
Okay, here we go. Oh, hold, please. Okay, there we go.
The ABC Jewels. Well, now, you know, she's gotten her net accounts. She's starting to get some revolving accounts reporting to her business credit reports, but she still needs a bit of money. So she's went to her financial advisor and she wants to have a conversation with them about whether or not she can borrow from her 401k to help continue to fund her business. Now, do you think this is something that she can legally do? Yes or no, and why? Let's go ahead and light the chat up. So she wants to borrow from her 401k to help fund her business. Is this something that she can do as an entrepreneur? Okay, got a yes so far. Yep. Yep, but she will be taxed. Yep. And we'll talk about that tax part, because there's a difference between taking out a loan from my retirement and withdrawing from my retirement. All right. So the thing that I think is going to be more important for us to think about, a couple of things before we even think about going this route. First and foremost, loan versus a withdrawal. So a loan, you're borrowing against the money that you're investing in, right? So even though you're taking that money out, it's basically like a secured loan, right? You're taking that loan out against your money that's already reporting. And the good thing about borrowing, taking out a loan against your 401k, is that you'll still be getting that interest even though you'll be paying it back, right? But the difference between that and a withdrawal is once you withdraw something, and if you're under the age of 60, you'll be hit with, tax penalties. The 10% federal, and then depending on the state, they might also come hit you with some state tax as well. So whenever you're thinking about your 401k, go for loans over withdrawals. Make withdrawals kind of like that last resort. Like, this is the only funding source that I have access to, and it's some money that I have, and I'm okay with getting that 10% penalty against it if I'm below 60. But the kind of stipulation with loans that we often don't think about is you can only take out loans of those 401k accounts for employers that you're actively with. So again, like, unless you are with that employer right now, 9 times out of 10, like that 401k account won't let you borrow against it because you're no longer working with them. They will give you the option to withdraw, which you can do from every 401k account that you have. But again, like, I would try to, like, if you could roll over all of those into that active method of employment that you have, because then that total amount will be rolled over into that one account, and you'll be able to borrow from that, as opposed to only having withdrawal restrictions if it's sitting on their old accounts. So something definitely to think about in terms of overall consideration for your person as well as your business. Because when you're talking about your 401, when you have like multiple accounts, you kind of want to see whether or not you want to roll them over into one, or maybe roll them over into IRA, which is another place that can be a place that you can get some money and kind of think about. But in general, a 401k is a great resource that I want us to keep in mind if ever we need to, but just understand the stipulations based on where you are in your personal like employment journey and how that might work out with taking this up as a source. All right, so some other kind of forms that are out there and will be a bit dependent on where we are in our journey, and I think will become much more sufficient as we kind of get more months and years under our belts in terms of our overall business. So equipment financing, I think, is a great place. One, because it provides an opportunity to add installment type accounts, largely because that's a lot of the equipment that you would be leasing across industries would be on like that installment kind of like method. So that would be a great space. One, because even though you are taking money out or borrowing money to get this, the kind of what you'll recoup in terms of actually needing that equipment to conduct your business, to maybe automate some processes, or whatever that equipment means to you, your particular business and the niche that you operate in, having that is something that could boost those profits that will not only repay whatever monthly installment you have to pay against the equipment, but it'll also help you bring in profit as well, right? So with equipment financing, think about not just the amount of money that you're going to have to put out, but how much more money will you be able to bring in simply because you have that equipment. Or, and equipment doesn't have to be like physical, right? It can also be technology, as we're moving into like AI, which I want to talk about a bit more in a bit. But as we're becoming much more technological, and the idea of considering what is equipment continues to evolve, don't not factor in technological equipment and how that can also help automate processes and whatever else you need that stuff for, to kind of maximize profit, to be able to pay back these things on top of whatever else you got coming in the pipe for your operating costs. Merchant advances are basically like credit lines against like your credit card transactions. So like in some ways, you're building a relationship where like you don't have to pay those merchant fees out of pocket because of the line of credit that you have installed with it. That's something that I think is it's very niche dependent, and I think it's something to consider only if it would benefit you. Like, yes, building that relationship is good, but in all the other areas that we've been focusing on over the past couple of weeks, like, this isn't something that would be necessary, only if it will provide value and it's something that you think will be beneficial in the long run. And lastly, revenue-based loans. So based on the revenue that you bring in as a small business owner, you can actually borrow against that in some ways. So this is a good option for like folks who have steady income streams of revenue but don't qualify for those traditional loans. So this could be another space for those of us who are working on our personal reports and trying to get things up to date, or just in that crazy process of disputing, which the personal credit bureaus are becoming much more aware and trying to keep us from what they know we legally should have access to. But think of this as another one of those options if you needed it, in terms of, like, I think for my folks who are working on their person. So both the 401k element as well as the revenue-based loan, which could be something that, if you're already producing revenue, not only is that good to show in terms of your business plan when you're soliciting this money from those folks, but if they're utilizing your personal report or looking at your debt to limit ratio, or looking at your history from your personal credit report, and they're saying that maybe they want to not do something right now, having that revenue would allow them to be able to see, well, even though they're working on themselves as a person, their business is bringing in money in a way that I think that regardless of where they are as a consumer, that they could do this based on the revenue that I'm seeing. So they'll want you to kind of like make that loan based on the revenue that they're seeing and what they would consider you be able to continue to bring in based on that. All right. So kind of moving into just like an overview of class, I wanted to remind us of like those 20 compliance elements that we talked about. In the first week, we talked about these first 9. So thinking about just setting up our entity as a whole, making sure that our EIN, our DUNS, all of our demographic information, like address, phone number, email, website, all that is up to date. And then after all of that is done, making sure that our credit profiles are up with the 4 agencies, starting to build those credit histories in our business profiles, starting with those net 30 accounts or those net accounts, depending on like what the days are, then moving into revolving accounts, which will then help us be able to talk about those last 3 that I just mentioned. So installment accounts, that bank loan or equipment lease. So bank loan is different from that secured loan that we talked about earlier. So these are like those loans that are not, that don't have to fall within like being defined as something that's like you have to personally guarantee or secure something. And that's also going to be the space where equipment leasing will also come into terms. And in total, something that we didn't mention, but I think once you kind of look at having at least seven on your net side, and then at least 5 on your revolving side, trying to have at least a total of 15, like across all 4 of your agencies is ideal. Excuse me. Because that's going to be what is supportive and maximizing your opportunity to get not just money itself, but larger amounts in terms of the credit that they'll be able to give to you. And of course, I'm gonna move that next time, but like making sure that your business plan is up to date and compliant, and showing not just your market analysis, which is going to be an important space that most people will start at, but like your revenue projections, because they want to know, 1, do you know the industry that you're trying to penetrate, and 2, what profit do you see yourself being able to accumulate based on your knowledge of being unique in a lot of these markets that are like oversaturated. Well, I shouldn't say oversaturated, but have a lot of competition.
Man, that was absolutely amazing. A lot of information.
So, okay, number 1 takeaway is that you could take a loan out on your 401k. For me, I was like, never had that conversation. The upline
Those
I
2
talked
distinctions were good.
Yeah, definitely said to withdraw. That was the conversation I had. There was never a conversation about taking a loan on your 401k, which actually does sound kind of, I mean, that would be ideal, right? Because then your 401k can still grow.
Keep the money. And so funny, because that was the question I had about whether or not, because I know with the life insurance fund, the life insurance money I was telling you about, you're not able to do it that way. But this is so good. I know, guys, he also got into some other aspects of loans or other types of ways to get money, which I thought was so helpful, especially for people who actually have that the way he talked about for like getting a loan for equipment, and then using that equipment obviously to make more revenue so that you could obviously pay back that money. That was really smart. And I think again that alludes to what Janelle and I pointed out earlier, where having a conversation with someone before doing this to us would be the best advice in terms of really how to answer this question. Because maybe, yes, it is something you can do their ways, but you maybe shouldn't be doing that right now, or or should, depending on what business you're doing and and what your goals are around taking out the loans
and how your business is going so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
Because
is
I know for us that wasn't, we didn't even and I love, if Janelle, can you talk a little bit more about that period of and for you guys to understand, we were having to travel, we were having to stay places, you know, were you, in terms of even using the product, was that a part of it as well?
yeah,
Using the loans to build that? Yeah, there you
yeah.
go. You
It
want to
was,
talk a little bit about that, or?
I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say. I use the money for
Well,
personal
I'm
development.
sorry. So I was gonna say, so like even with my question earlier about how to, oh sorry, might cut you off. Um, how to make the decisions on what to spend that money on, and
Well, I see.
was the money, you know, was the money, you know, is it separate? Like I had a credit card for myself. I had a credit card that was kind of for the business in a sense. So it's like if there's a purchase on this, I know it had something to. We were out at a meal somewhere. You get what I'm saying, or is the money, was in it in a general place and you just were spending, like what was that like when you actually, as somebody who actually did this?
Yeah, no, again, so I did it very poorly.
Oh,
I did
okay.
not have a separate, like, I've always admired people who had like a separate credit card for their expenses, or even maybe even a separate debit card, maybe.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not have one of those, so it was just all in there. I put away some in the savings account, but that was too accessible, like I said, right? Like it
To
wasn't,
move the money over, I get it.
yeah, so it
Okay.
wasn't, yeah. So, and I knew the dollar amount. I was very aware of how much I was using. I made the decision on what to spend on. Priority were always the training events because I wanted to get, you know, my mind better, and I knew that that was what was going to grow the team. And then for us, our service that we provided was in the travel space, so I did use the money on
Use our
using the
product.
product.
Yeah, yeah.
If the products were, I don't know, if the products were
A lotion or yeah,
waist
whatever.
trainers or something
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah,
I
yeah.
would have been using the money to purchase waist trainers for my company, right? Because I want to be a product of the company. So,
Yeah.
or a product of the products. And so that way, when people ask, like, well, what are you know,
Does it work or is it
work,
real or
right?
is it,
How does it
yeah.
work for you, right? Like that, I would have my
Yeah.
own story to tell. So, um, yeah, it was basically that. I only used them. I did not use the money to pay bills. I didn't use the money to go
Okay.
shopping. Like
Well,
it wasn't spent on that. It was only spent on product or for training events.
okay. And I have one, just a person so then, and I know in our business guide there are ranks, so ranks are different income earning levels. Was this during a time where you saw yourself increase in a rank because of this, being able to, you know, go on these
No,
extra trips? And
it helped me maintain director.
did it? Okay, very cool,
Yeah.
very cool. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's what I wanted. That's the question that I had. I was like, oh wow, I wonder if this happened during her run from that rank to that rank, because that would have been really cool, because that would have been a positive, obviously. But maintaining our business at that point was also a big deal. So
Yeah.
to grow it then, this was very cool. All right,
Well, if
guys.
you learned anything, please put it in the comments. Tell us exactly what you learned, even if it's how not to do things.
Seriously.
or something that you're thinking about doing. If you've also done something like this, please let us know in the comments. We really want to engage in conversation with you guys around this. This was really helpful.
Any type of loan that you may have taken out, or other ways. I know in real estate there's something called hard money lenders, in terms of being able to purchase properties. So I know there are definitely different ways to, to skin a cat, right? So let us know what you guys think, and definitely make sure you guys check us out on Mondays for our Monday rundown, and be here with us next week as we dive into another great topic. But until then, guys, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that. We'll see you guys